Good morning. Welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, I'm going to cover a couple of topics today, and some of them are personal, some of them not so personal to me. So if you've got questions or comments, you can register at Ustream at withthemeltdown.com, and you can chat live with me. If you've got a question or a comment you'd like me to address, I'd be more than happy to. I do want to take an opportunity to talk about somebody who's been posting some information about me, and I'm going to talk in a couple of different areas about this. The first area is that I do not offer financial advice. What I do is I discuss the opportunity to diversify a portfolio. Most of the people that I address that with have found me. Now, small business owners try to figure out how to provide advertising. Large companies don't have to think about it, they do it. And you can pick up a newspaper if you're still somebody who subscribes, and there's lots of different retail companies that advertise their services in a newspaper or a billboard or television or radio or the internet. So the insinuation that when I was doing radio that it was an advertisement was disclosed. We told people that we did it. And for me, at the time, it was a great medium to get my message out. The time is brokered. That's because I had the right to resell the hour that I was acquiring for other advertisers. But frankly, that wasn't the message that I wanted to put out there. As a matter of fact, in the cases of the two companies that I brokered my time through, that was CBS and Salem Communications, they filled those time slots. It was up to them to cover. It gave their advertisers additional exposure. The funny thing about both those companies is that they, I don't want to say constantly, but they continually made a mistake over a period of time and allowed my competitors to advertise in my own time slot. When it came right down to it, did they break the agreement and not fulfill their fiduciary responsibility? I'm not suing them over it. It was something that was mentioned every time it happened. People make mistakes. Now, in the past, I've had issues, as all of us have skeletons. And regarding the skeletons, I'll deal with them straight up. And if you've got a question or a comment, I'd certainly entertain the opportunity to discuss it. As a really young man, yeah, I made a mistake, no doubt about it. Full restitution was made. In the second incident that hung out there, nothing could be proved, but frankly, justice is blind, and she cost a lot of money to defend yourself. And I'm at that point again. And so only to tell you that not all of the facts were disclosed, not all of the facts have been disclosed, and frankly, anybody can be sued, anybody can be accused. That's why the system works the way it does. And from that standpoint, most of the people that I have met who have money, the people of wealth, it isn't a question of how much money you've got. When you work on a percentage basis, how much you spend matters. You know, I make a lot more money, quote, I can pay my employees, my overhead, the bills that I've got as a business owner. I can do a lot better if I sell $1 million than I can if I sell $100. That's pretty much simple mathematics. My point in bringing all of this up is that the one cliche that you can hear for years that I've been on a telephone, that I've talked to people, that I've consulted, that I've done radio, is that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, period. It is a matter of diversifying a portfolio. And whether it's a Mr. Gallagher or any other financial person, if you're giving advice, that requires a license in most states. That's not what I do. I talk to people who have a desire to either liquidate or they want to acquire. And the ones that want to acquire will take positions. And folks, I've had clients, after the market changed a month later, show back up and say, I don't want any of this stuff. I want my money back. You know what? Most dealers would tell you to get the heck out of their stores. I don't do that. Markets change. If you buy gold, the cheapest gold, and you paid $1,900 an ounce, and you walked in here today to sell it, you'd be selling it about $1,200, and that market move is nothing to do with me. That's certainly bigger concerns out there. And whether it's a JP Morgan or a John Paulson or any other investor out there, things change, and they change rather quickly. So from my standpoint, what I want to really convey to you today is that markets go up and markets go down. And we can prognosticate a lot of different scenarios. I've been talking for almost 2 weeks now about the 1879-0, the 1884 proof 20, and the 1887 proof 20. And I guess early on, when the bidding was very low, I teased with Michael about the 1884. The bid was $1, and of course, anyone would pay $1 for a $20 gold piece. Anyone would pay 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. And I swore that these coins would trade for over $100,000. They will approach 150 or more. They are big time coins. Now, that's a generic statement. And as we start the show this morning, the 1879-0 is now bid at 80,000 with a 15%, 20% premium. So we're probably over 94, 95,000, huh, Michael? Somewhere in that range. The 1879-0. Now, in the case of the 1884 proof 64 cameo and the 1887, the bidding is at 120,000 and 140,000. Folks, these are big time rare coins. And while I don't have a crystal ball that functions in prognosticating coins, I can tell you that there are certain coins out there that command the premium. And so let's talk about some of the buzzwords. I talked to Ronnie this morning, and in talking to him, the education of a client that I've had for 15 years continues to grow. You can go back through podcasts. You can go back to radio shows. We've been doing this since March, I guess probably before March, because I was off air for a little while Jason was in the hospital. That was when he was 6 weeks old, so that would have been the end of February, early March through April when we got out of 2011. And so I was doing shows before that. Ultimately, you can go back in time. You can listen to the message. You understand that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not gloom and doom. And I have been in the same home 15 years. I've been stable and regular, and the message about different types of coins. Again, it's diversification. And whether it's a Mr. Gallagher or anybody else out there who wants to deal with the issues, deal with them straight up. Don't look for the grandstanding. That's what standard media does. Do the follow-up, doing the investigation. You want a quick story, you can make that. But ultimately, if you want to get down to the brass tacks and the nitty-gritty, there's more to the story. And I'd be more than happy to address it. I've tried to address it, and it will be addressed. That having been said, the real form that I want to get into is talking about the different aspects of coins that matters. Now, with a week of coin auctions and nothing having taken place in the last month or so to speak of, there will be major coins that hit the marketplace. And coins auction off, there may be 5,000 to 10,000 coins during the week, the last week through this week. 10,000 coins get transacted. And companies cannot afford to list and put all of those results over maybe 5 or 6 different companies that report their transactions. See, in the Red Book, that's the U.S. Guidebook to Rare Coins, 67th edition, they rely on dealers to report what they think the value of the coins are. Dealers want to buy as cheap as they can and mark it up as much as they can. Now, there are reasons why I cherry pick pieces. Whether I've been accused of being an expensive retail coin dealer doesn't offend me. It doesn't offend me because, as I've pointed out for over a week and a half, the 1881 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar in mint state 65. In an NGC or a PCGS holder, you might pay between $150 and $175 and get the bottom of the barrel, lowest price mint state 65 you can get your hands on. But when I can look online and find one that has the right color, the toning, it's got the right strike. That means it's a clean strike. It's not weak. You can see all the detail, the way a coin was meant to be struck when it was struck. See, you got to remember back in the 1880s, these were coins of commerce. You couldn't put paper money in your pocket because, quote, clothes weren't being massively produced and you didn't protect things the same way. There wasn't air conditioning everywhere. Different conditions. Coins were used to trade. And ultimately, the trading of those coins, when they were dropped in bags, they'd get banged up. A mint state 65 coin is considered gem BU. That's a term used prior to 1986. Dealers who refer to it today are selling coins that they could have gotten graded, but they didn't. And they either didn't get them graded, one, because they wouldn't get the grade, they could sell it for raw. That would be kind of interesting to discuss, but we're not going to do it here. Or they won't get the ultimate, and maybe the coin was cleaned or whizzed and has problems, and that's why they didn't do it. Anyway, a mint state 65, 1881 San Francisco Morgan dollar is a $170 coin, maybe 200, maybe 150. But to see a coin listed with pedigree, with the plus signs or the stars, that determines that the coin is high end, that it's got the right look, the right toning, the color of the coin, the right strike. Those factors give you a plus sign or a star, something that's only been out for a few years now. But ultimately, then you get the CAC sticker, then you get the pedigree on the coin. Who owned it? Was the chain of ownership in a major collection that would matter? Well, when I pointed out one could be bought for $170 to $200, but there was one that was posted at right at $7,000, $6,999. That was on a morning podcast. By the afternoon podcast, the coin had been taken down. It transacted. I don't know who owned it. I didn't care. I cared that I could show you guys, I could show Michael and myself, and we could talk about a coin that here's a common mint state 65 for a couple $100, and here's one for almost 7,000. And in the span of, I guess, 4 or 5 hours, the coin was sold. It's gone. Poof. It's sold. And it sold because it was a good value. Now, I talked to a good friend who used to fill in on some shows for me, and he was talking to me about muscle cars and another auction company, not the one that takes place a couple of times a year and is super huge, but one that takes place a couple times a month. And there were a couple of celebrities that owned these vehicles. One was a Camaro, one was a Ford Lightning pickup truck. And because of the pedigree, because of who owned those vehicles, they brought huge premiums, $40,000 to $100,000. That's big money, particularly when you're talking about a car. And odds are the car is going to be in a garage and owned by a collector, because collectors don't drive, most of them don't drive $500,000 cars around. I love diversification. And if you're into cars or art or jewelry or diamonds, if you're into rare coins or currency or another type of a collectible, heck, I remember, no, it's probably been about 3 or 4 years. I remember watching a guy who collected toasters. I was shocked, but he paid like $1,500 for one. It was a toaster. Folks, it's easy to understand in this economy that people are concerned. I look at the long-term unemployed and how bleak the future is. People say they're out looking for jobs. I saw the 9/11 Commission, or the state of New York is looking to go after a lot of people who made up the concerns they have for their the benefits for being ill because of 9/11 effect. And so I know that people throw curveballs. Um, you know, I look at the economy and I realize that the price of oil is back down to $93. But I can also tell you that my two gas stations up the street are toe to toe with each other this morning. They're charging the same price. Price of oil is down $7 a barrel. Price of gasoline has gone up. It is a buyer's beware market. And the difference between what I've tried to provide and what most people don't understand is that there's material that you can buy for a 1% premium over the cost. There are other things that cost 10, 20, 30, 40%. I know dealers that mark up things 150 to 200%, and I don't want to be associated with them. Their markup and the misrepresentation is huge. A real dealer, one who wants to hit you straight, is going to show you the gray sheets, the Coin Dealer newsletter, and give you the honest comparison. And the fact that elderly people come in and talk to dealers all over the nation, guess what? They're typically the ones with the most money. They're the ones that are the most concerned. They remember the stories from their parents and their grandparents, how hard things were back in the 1930s, even the 1920s. And so this is a generation that has a lot of wealth and they're looking to protect it. Now, I watch the stock market. I've got a few dollars that are tied up in there, and I've been very fortunate, as most people have, and you've recovered from the hits that you took in 2008 and 2009. There are as many prognosticators and fund managers that are concerned about a correction in the stock market. I can tell you the Nikkei was up 300 points. That's nearly 2%. I can tell you the Dow is down 0.5%. And where are we going to end up the day? I can't tell you that because we're not there. The premium between gold and platinum is spreading. Platinum is now trading at about a 13% premium over gold. I can tell you that if you're trading at spot, that you could buy 63 ounces of silver to an ounce of gold, but that's not reality in the physical market. I look at the dollar going up this morning. Normally that's a clear sign that other currencies are going to go down, but the Australian dollar, the Swiss franc, the British pound, and the rupee are all up. And folks, we are at a different time in history. The things that we used to be able to bank on, you can't bank on anymore. And yes, there are companies that go out of business. There are governments that fall. And I've got a friend, so I guess he's more of an acquaintance, who's in the currency trading business. You traveled overseas and you're going to take the extra cash or currency or coins that you had when you got on the plane, and you get back here and you go exchange them back for US dollars. Now, I know of a major bank, and it's an international bank that's got a big home here in the United States. They've started to lay claim, and they've been all over the place. And my point is that bank handles foreign exchange transactions and charges somewhere between 15 and 30 percentage points. If it's a private business, they've got to work even wider. And so this is a market, this is an economy where the wealthy have been getting wealthier and the middle class has been squeezed out. We're getting ready for another set of election time coverage to begin. Oh, we're in January. I would say by June, we'll start to see some emerging candidates. There's already talk of Hillary Clinton. There's already talk of the vice president. There's talk on the other side of the aisle of Marco Rubio. And of course, Jeb Bush has tried not to get his hat in the ring. Look at Chris Christie or Ted Cruz and understand that there's Republicans and Democrats and the Tea Party. There's liberals and conservatives and independents, and you throw all that together, and there's going to be a chunk of society in 2016 that is going to be extremely distraught over the election. It happens every time. But when you look at what the book that's coming out that discusses in detail the mistrust of our government, then you understand that our problems are bad and Congress gets a bigger shot than anybody. And that's going to continue because we have the medium of social media, and we can all get on the internet and we can all say what we want. Folks, you need somebody who can answer questions. And I've said it over and over and over. The advent of the internet creates a problem because you can read something and you go to bed thinking that that's the most important or that's the truth, and you don't really get it. A new person who doesn't understand or wants to grandstand, same situation. I've lost a good customer because his spouse made a decision. Because in talking to other dealers and in a community where I used to be the only gold buyer and I could spend $50,000 in a month, I'm lucky if I can spend $1,000 or $2 anymore because all of you liquidated your broken gold. The characteristics of what makes coins function is supply and demand. There's a lot of coins. Bill Gates could say he wants to spend $1 billion or $2 billion, and there's enough material to cover that transaction today. And he'd own a lot of different coins, all US, ranging from wheat pennies and Indian cents. Heck, you can go all the way back into half cents, coins that were struck in the 1790s. And I'll fill up a couple of tractor trailers full. I do it nice and inexpensive. I'll admit to working on a 5% transaction if I could have $1 billion. Some of the coins are going to trade for cents. Other coins are going to trade for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars because $1 billion is a lot. I worry about how you protect yourself knowing that markets are manipulated. And just uniquely, Rarity is stable. It is not, and I emphasize it more today than ever, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. People who buy into my market, who are looking at gold, silver, platinum, rare coins, currency, look at it from a standpoint of protecting their assets, period. I like Rarity. It's not as volatile as gold or silver. And when I look at a market like I am today, and I can tell you that the run in silver has been as high as 21 or so in the last 6 months. It's been as low as just under $19. Trading today down 2%. You know, I have days where I get to tell you it's up 3%. And so these are volatile markets, and you're going to pay a premium for physical metal, period. There's minting cost, transportation cost, commissions, overhead. There's a lot. A dealer who sells $100 million is going to work on a tighter spread because he's doing more volume. A dealer who doesn't do a lot of volume is going to work on a higher percent. It's just simple math. But what you've got to work with, that matters. And I've alluded to a theft. It was an internal theft, and it's being dealt with and investigated. And good news and bad news. The bad news is it's hard to make your ends meet when you take an internal theft. The good news is it was all captured, and we're going to deal with that. And folks, these are all issues that over time get rectified. If you've got questions, I hope you'll give me a call. It's 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. You'll get a live voice. You can visit themeltdown.com. You can send me an email. You can click on our links pages and find other information that would be pertinent and valuable. Coins are never worthless. Not U.S. coins. That hasn't happened yet. Go overseas and look at other currencies. I can buy you a tractor trailer full of currency from a government that's no longer in existence, and pick a nation, I probably can get it. Whether it's in Mexico to the south or any of the Latin American countries or overseas, tractor trailers full of currency come available because the currency's no good. That's why you've got to exchange it pretty much when you get off the plane and hope that there hasn't been a civil war. And I look at what's going on over in Syria. I look at what's going on throughout the Middle East. And there's problems, and those problems start to expand. The TSA, Homeland Security, is worried about it. Listen to New Year's Eve and realize that there are so many patrolmen out to make sure that there's nothing that goes wrong in Times Square where, quote, evil could lurk and drop 1 million people with a bomb. I'm just saying. Folks, we're at a tough time, and we're at a crossroads in history. And protecting your assets is what gold, silver, and rare coins are about. Platinum too. Put in some rare currency, own a rare car, own a second piece of property. I know people who love real estate. Personally, it's not as liquid as it needs to be. That I know for sure. Anyway, I don't ever want to get off air without talking about Texas Children's Hospital, the Downs Clinic, and the Ronald McDonald House. Go to themeltdown.com. There's donation banners. Click on those. Make a tithe or an offering, a charitable contribution. The information is private for me. You'll get a receipt in the mail. The Ronald McDonald House has 20 rooms on the 4th floor. And there are somewhere between 20 and 60 people there every night. They would love a hot meal. There are other charitable organizations that provide different snacks and meals. But if you could work with them and provide a hot meal, almost homemade if you would, or a cafeteria style, please call 832-824-8600. It's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to accommodate you. The Myers Center is the Downs Clinic. It's no longer at Texas Children's. It's south of the F.U.N location. But Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff deal with a number of disabilities. I appreciate the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and the volunteers at Texas Children's throughout the medical center here in Houston and, of course, around the world. These are children who need our help and our love and our prayers, and so we extend all that. Folks, I'll be back this afternoon. If you have any questions or comments, email me, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. You can call me at 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Appreciate you listening in. We'll see you this afternoon. God bless you.